I'm not teaching, I'm publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 98, the slave trade part 2. That is on page 38 already, and while doing shoulder impingement training. And if you participate in the shoulder impingement training, that is at your own risk, and this video, this chapter, will be about slavery. So, we already had that the commercial expansion and prosperity of Britain was sustained by the slave trading. And holding slaves was illegal in Britain, but it was not illegal in overseas territories. And by the 18th century, it was fully established overseas industry. So by the 18th century, it was fully established overseas industry. It was by the 18th century, it was a fully established overseas industry. And that industry of slave trading, what are we talking of? Yes, the slave trading was dominated by Britain and the American colonies. And the most slaves were coming from West Africa, and they were traveling on British ships under horrible conditions, and they were taken to America and the Caribbean. They worked on tobacco and sugar plantations, and their living conditions were very bad. Many slaves tried to escape, and others even revolted against their owners in protest at the terrible treatment. So many slaves tried to escape, and others revolted against their owners in protest at their terrible treatment. Or just because they had to flee. Revolted against their owners in protest, or just because it was necessary, or because of the terrible treatment. There were, however, people in Britain who opposed the slave trade, so we're going very quickly over to the abolitionists. There were, however, people in Britain who opposed the slave trade. So some people were in Britain who were against it. The first formal anti-slavery groups were set up by the Quakers in the late 1700s. So let's the sentence again. The first formal anti-slavery groups, so people coming together, like reading groups, people meeting together and reading books or something, or playing cards or something. There were people who came together and basically like a political party, just that it's not a political party, but from the idea. And they all were the opinion that slavery is not okay. This first formal anti-slavery group, the first formal anti-slavery groups were set up by the Quakers in the late 1700s. We will never get an explanation to Quakers, I guess. Now, I thought that the Jacobites were a religious group, a Protestant religious group, but they are saying here that they were just the Jacobites because they supported James II on the throne. Now, it would be still right that these are Protestants, but they are classified by being supporters of James II and not because they're following a shared religion. Now, I don't know what Quakers are. I think they are also, I don't want to talk about it, but it would be easier if it would just stand here, just some simple thing. In the late 1700s, and they petitioned Parliament to ban the practice. So there were Quakers, and by around 1780, they petitioned the Parliament to ban the practice of slave trading. William Wilberforce, an evangelical Christian and a member of Parliament, also played an important part in changing the law. We're going directly and very fast over to the abolitionists. And we're having I'm grateful as I was with Bodica, but we are not sensational and only educational. But we're going very fast over everything and going directly to the abolitionists. William Wilberforce, an evangelical Christian. Now, where's the big difference between That is wrong expressed, I mean but just linguistically. There's the difference in evangelical and Protestantic. I'm not sure if it is, and I don't know my word again, knowledge which is supposed that everyone has it. An evangelical Christian and a member of parliament. So I think the Quakers are also a Protestantic religion group, or people who have, that is very defined by following a religion. So the Quakers are a religious group. Evangelical Christians also. William Wilberforce was an evangelical Christian, and he was a member of the parliament. And he also played an important part in changing the law, so the law was changed. Along with other abolitionists, people who supported the abolition of slavery. So the people who support the slavery are called abolitionists. There are also of other things people called abolitionists, but most of the times if someone talks of abolitionists, they mean the people trying to abolish the slavery or slave trading. Along with other abolitionists, people who supported the abolition of slavery, he succeeded in turning public opinion against the slave trade. So, William Wilberforce, he succeeded in turning the public opinion against the slave trading. In 1807 it became illegal to trade slaves in British ships or from British ports. We're going on after we've started the shoulder pitchman training, and if you participate in that, it is at your own risk. We are doing forward shoulder circuits. We're going back, up, in front, and down. Back, up, in front, and down. And in front, up, and back, and down. Not backward shoulder circuits. And now we're doing a shrug. We're lifting the arms up. And now we're shrugging the shoulders high up. And we're letting them down again. Now we're bringing the arms up. Shrugging the shoulders up. And again down. And another time. Shrugging the shoulders up. Now we're bringing the arms up. Now we're shrugging the shoulders up. And releasing them down again. Now the next two exercises, we are doing the world lifter. We're having long arms, more bent in the elbow, and strong fists. And now we are bringing the arms into internal rotation, so turn the arms to the inside, cover the shoulders back, down, together, and up the chest a bit to the sky. So the arms with strong fists are turning to the inside, shoulders down and together. Now turn the arms to the outside. And the shoulders are staying still down. And returning the arm, switching the arm position. The arms to the inside, shoulders down, together. Now the arms to the outside, shoulders down, together. And that was the world lifter. Now a similar exercise. The arms to the outside, the arms in front, and returning the arms to the inside. And the shoulders are going down and together. The arms in front, shoulders down. And now we're switching the arms back. And this time also the shoulders changing up and in front. The arms back, shoulders up and in front. And switch again, the arms in front and the shoulders down together. And switch the last time, the arms back, shoulders up and in front. And release. So, at the end of 17. In the late 1700s. Do we have to know it? The difference between the beginning of the 1800s, late 1700s, or the end of the 18th century, the first formal anti-slavery groups grouped, and they were Quakers, and they petitioned in the parliament to ban the practice of slave trading. William Wilberforce, maybe that name could be easily questioned. William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce. We know another parliamentarian, that is the first Prime Minister, and that is Sir Rudolph Walpole, 1721-1742 Prime Minister. So we know now of William Wilberforce. We don't know if he was a parliamentarian, but he was the first Prime Minister. William Wilberforce, he was an evangelical, I think it's evangelical pronounced, evangelical Christian, and he was a member of Parliament. Why are we told that he is an evangelical Christian? William Wilberforce, an evangelical Christian. So is the difference between Protestant and evangelical Christian? My assumption is that all evangelicals lists are Protestants, but not all Protestants are evangelical. He was an evangelical Christian and a member of Parliament. He also played an important part in changing the law. Along with, yes, I wanted to look at it, but not he alone. That would be unusual. Along with other abolitionists, he succeeded in turning public opinion against the slave trade. In 1807, it became illegal to trade slaves in British ships or from British ports. And in 1833, the Emancipation Act abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. There's another thing, like abolitionist, that can also be meant to something else to abolish it. And the same thing here with emancipation is often meant together with giving women the same rights as men have, or something like that. But it's also used just as abolitionist for other things. It's actually from Latin, and it meant that someone leaves the house or something like that. So emancipation and abolitionist does not exclusively mean slavery, or the abolishment of slavery, or the Emancipation Act. Then, what is that? In 1833, the Emancipation Act abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. Yes, that means to give freedom, basically. I forgot what it comes from Latin, but it means to give freedom, basically. And abolitionist is mostly connected with the slave trading, and emancipation with giving women the same freedom and the same rights as men have. So in 1870 it became illegal to, we have it here for example, that women were excluded from voting. He succeeded in turning public opinion against the slave trade. In 1870 it became illegal to trade slaves in British ships or from British ports. So we're having again 1807, so we had 1707, 1714, 1721, the Act of Union 1707, the Queen Anne's Death 1714, and 1721, the first Prime Minister. Now we're having 1807, illegal to trade slaves in British ships or British ports, and then 1833, the Emancipation Act. We will continue there. But now, first, the last two exercises. We are having the arms together, the principle, and bringing them down until the outsides, and we're just concentrating on what the scapulars are doing. Just concentrate, how are they moving? Just concentrate on the scapulars a few more times. And last time, just concentrate, are the scapulars moving as they should? And now, the last exercise, the sundial. You can also use a tennis ball or something, have it on your outside with a long and straight arm. Let it fall and catch it again if you can. Let it fall and catch it again. And wander slowly in front. And the other arm. And as was the last exercise, we are bringing one arm in front and we're stretching just the arm. And now the other arm. And now we're having 60 seconds left to talk about what is here. So in 1807 it became illegal to trade slaves from British ships or from British ports. And in 1833 the Emancipation Act abolished slavery throughout the British Empire. So in 1833 slavery was in the British Empire abolished. The Royal Navy stopped slave ships from other countries, freed the slaves and punished slave traders. So at least